continuing dialogue through the Jeddah platform leading to a ceasefire and facilitating access of humanitarian aid. We reject any steps outside the framework of state institutions that may harm the unity of Sudan and do not reflect the will of its brotherly people. The Kingdom stands by Lebanon, supports everything that enhances its security and stability, and appreciates the effort of the Lebanese state to implement the Ta'if Agreement and extend the sovereignty of the state and limit weapons to the Lebanese state and its legitimate institutions, with the need for the withdrawal of the Israeli occupation from all Lebanese territories in implementation of relevant international resolutions. The Kingdom also supports a Libyan solution. We call for a commitment to the implementation of the ceasefire, which would consolidate Libya's unity and its national institutions and would support its counterterrorism efforts. As for the Russia-Ukraine crisis, we call for the peaceful settlement through dialogue in the interest of all parties. We affirm our readiness to continue our mediation efforts based on our balanced position and reliable relations with the various parties to the crisis. In this context, the Kingdom hosted Russian, Ukrainian, American peace talks as part of our efforts to reach a political solution to this crisis, and in a manner that would enhance international peace and security. The Kingdom commends the response of Pakistan and India to diplomatic efforts and the wisdom of reaching an agreement that ends the tension between the two countries. We affirm our support to resolving differences through dialogue and peaceful means, based on the principles of good neighborliness and in a manner that would achieve peace and prosperity for the two countries and their peoples. Mr. President, a decade has since passed since the launch of the Kingdom's Vision 2030, which charted a long-term development path for the Kingdom, during which it established broad structural transformations at the level of the economy, society, and the government, through which we worked to empower youth and women, promote the values of tolerance, embrace innovation, and expand the horizons of international communication and cooperation. By the end of the year 2024, this plan has achieved 93% of its performance indicators in terms of programs, strategies, and interim targets, and has even exceeded them. The rate of unemployment among Saudis has decreased to 6.3% today compared to 12% in 2016. The participation of women in the labor market increased to over 36%, and the value of the public investment fund's assets has reached $913 billion by the end of 2024, while the contribution of non-oil activities to the real GDP reached 56%. Within the framework of its Vision 2030, the Kingdom continues to complete the march of progress to develop its human capabilities and strengthen its international partnerships to represent a leading development model in national transformation and to build a more prosperous and inclusive future. Mr. President, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia stresses the importance of strengthening international cooperation to reduce the effects of climate change within the framework of relevant international agreements by adopting a balanced and comprehensive approach to energy transition paths. This takes into account the three main pillars required to achieve sustainable development, namely maintaining energy security, providing it at an affordable cost, and maintaining environmental sustainability. In this context, the Kingdom has launched a number of pioneering initiatives based on the circular and balanced carbon economy approach, most notably the Saudi Green Initiative at the national level and the Middle East Green Initiative at the regional and international levels. This reflects the Kingdom's commitment to climate action from a comprehensive perspective that takes into account development and the environment. The Kingdom also emphasizes the importance of not excluding any energy sources and calls for realistic and comprehensive transition paths. In addition to having advanced technologies that have enabled it to be one of the countries with the lowest carbon and methane emissions in oil and gas production, the Kingdom is playing a leading role in investing in hydrocarbon emissions management technologies, especially technologies for carbon capture, utilization, and storage, CCUS, which allows for the efficient use of resources while reducing the environmental impact, thus contributing to the protection of the global climate system. In the same context, the Kingdom is investing in all innovative technologies that contribute to reducing and addressing greenhouse gas emissions, including the expansion of renewable energy projects, increasing energy efficiency, and the production of clean hydrogen, including green hydrogen, along with nature-based solutions such as large-scale afforestation and the protection of terrestrial and marine ecosystems, confirming the Kingdom's commitment to sustainable development and achieving a balance between development and the climate. Mr. President, As part of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's commitment to ensuring the sustainability of water resources and making them available to all, His Royal Highness Prince Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdul Aziz Al Saud, Crown Prince and Prime Minister, announced the establishment of the Global Water Organization based in Riyadh with the aim of developing international cooperation to address water challenges in an integrated manner through the exchange of experiences and the promotion of empowerment, innovation, and research and development. This would contribute to putting water issues at the top of the international agenda. The Kingdom has provided more than $6 billion of funding to countries on 4 continents to support their water projects. The Kingdom looks forward to contributing to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals aimed at ensuring water availability and achieving a comprehensive impact that paves the way for a safe and sustainable water future for all. Mr. President, within the framework of environmental protection and combating desertification and drought, the Kingdom has more than quadrupled the area of protected areas so that it currently exceeds 80% of the Kingdom's area, and we aim to reach the 30% mark by 2030. The Kingdom has also adopted a new waste management system to exclude 90% of the waste through recycling and the utilization of waste, which would contribute to the protection of terrestrial and marine environments and the reduction of plastic pollution. The Kingdom has also launched a Saudi Green Initiative to rehabilitate 40 million hectares of degraded land, and the Middle East Green Initiative, which was joined by 30 Arab, Asian, and African countries to strengthen joint efforts to rehabilitate 200 million hectares of degraded lands. The Kingdom hosted the 16th Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, COP16, with the participation of more than 170 countries and about 90,000 participants from representatives of international organizations, scientific institutions, civil society associations, and the private sector. The conference witnessed the launch of dozens of initiatives, the most important of which are the Early Warning of Dust Storms Initiative and the Business Sector for Earth Initiative to enhance the role of the private sector in land conservation and the
I'm a dialect coach. I'm a dialect coach.
Want a career as a dialect coach? We're not the school for you. Want a career-focused degree that's fast, flexible, and affordable? Apply now at post.edu. Post University.
the scourge of conflict for future generations. We believe that the path to a more stable and prosperous world passes through sincere cooperation and constructive dialogue and joint action for the security and sustainable peace for all. May God, peace, and blessings be upon you.
You have just been listening to the Saudi foreign minister as he delivered his address at the annual meeting, of course, of the UN General Assembly. This is at UN headquarters in New York. He called for international action to deter Israel from criminal behavior. He also addressed the nuclear issue and hit many of the issues that are currently concerning the Middle East, whether it's the new political landscape in Syria, in Lebanon, Iran, recent attacks on Qatar. He mentioned all of those. Danya Thefer joins us now. Danya, you're Executive Director of Gulf International Forum, a think tank in Washington, D.C., and you're a lecturer at Georgetown University. You're joining us live from Doha. So the foreign minister delivered his speech as the entire Middle East is undergoing profound change. What did you make of what he said?
Well, I think it showed the degree of concern in general about Israel's recent behavior over the course of the last couple of years specifically. If you looked at most of his concerns raised, regionally speaking, whether it be, of course, the two-state solution, which is a big part of Saudi's role at the United Nations, but other things. For example, the attack on Qatar was highlighted and emphasized on. The nuclear issue with Iran, he emphasized the importance of diplomacy, which there has been discussions about the possibility of another Israeli-Iranian conflict. And I think for sure the Saudi foreign minister definitely doesn't want it to escalate to that point. So he's emphasized on diplomacy. He talked about freedom of navigation and the issues associated with that. Of course, he's referring to the Houthi attacks on the Red Sea. And obviously, I think they perceive that partly due to, or largely due to, Israel's conduct. And so I think a lot of the points, even the mention of Syria and, stabilizing Syria, Saudi has put a lot of effort in trying to stabilize Syria, and, Israel has been bombing Syria as well. So I think there's a lot of concerns raised from that perspective, whether it was articulated directly or pinpointing these core issues that are linked to Israel's conduct in the region.
Well, about that, I wanted to ask you a question on that, because the biggest crisis facing the Middle East by far right now is, of course, Israel's war on Gaza. He addressed it. He addressed the suffering of the Palestinian people, the famine, the displacement, the killing, and he called for international action to deter Israel. But he didn't address any specifics. Did that surprise you?
Well, I think there's a lot going on behind the scenes in terms of the solution for Gaza. I know there's been a lot of diplomacy and discussions with the Trump administration, and probably I think the lack of too much details on that topic could be related to that, and as well as, Saudi has changed its style a lot, putting forth a more Saudi first sort of tone in the way they speak about issues, regionally, globally, and domestically. And so it doesn't seem as a speech that was too much off course from the previous sort of speeches that come out of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, it certainly sounded very calibrated, very deliberate, and measured. I think I would say. You mentioned something really interesting, which is all the diplomacy that's going on behind the scenes. So Donald Trump, the U.S. president, had around the table with him 2 days ago a number of Arab countries and leaders from Arab countries, including Saudi Arabia, Qatar. Turkey was there, the wider Islamic world. Indonesia, I believe, was at the meeting. And Donald Trump presented his 21-point plan to try and achieve peace and end the war in Gaza. Donald Trump tweeted less than 24 hours ago, "We are talking with all the countries of the region." So this would be, if this is indeed what is happening, this is a different format than the mediation that we've seen until now, which involved just 3 countries, right? The US, Qatar, and Egypt. Do you think it makes a difference that we're now looking at, according to Donald Trump, all the countries in the region, all the stakeholders being involved in this discussion?
I do think it's significant, and pulsing Donald Trump's, President Trump's tone about ending the war, as he said, I think shows that there is a lot of movement behind the scenes. And, the fact is, prior to this, we had where the Arab states were kind of having their own conversations. And then you have the Israelis and the Americans, who obviously, have the most leverage in the situation, having parallel conversations. So now that everyone is talking jointly, I think makes it a bit more optimistic than it was before, that they're going to come up with some sort of deal or way to put forth a ceasefire.
And I have a real quick one. In fact, I'm looking at the clock. You know what? We're going to run out of time. So I don't want to do the thing where I ask you a question, then you only have 10 seconds to answer. So look, Danya Thapar, Executive Director of Gulf International Forum. That's a think tank in Washington, D.C., but you're in Doha today. It was so good to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you've had to wait in the wings listening to that speech along with us. Thank you very much for coming on Al Jazeera.
Thank you.
All right, that's going to do it from us. We have, of course, just been listening to the Saudi foreign minister. He was addressing the General Assembly of the United Nations. That was taking place, still is taking place, at UN headquarters in New York. So we're going to be back at the top of the hour. We will be recapping what world leaders have been saying at the UN General Assembly throughout the day, throughout the last few days. One of the main topics that comes up again and again during the speeches, of course, is Israel's war on Gaza, with many world leaders denouncing the suffering of the Palestinian people in Gaza even as we speak. We will also be reporting on that when we come back at the top of the hour. Do stay with Al Jazeera.
Hello, the weather's largely set fair now across a good part of Australia. We have got blustery showers. You can see the spattling of the shower cloud there, rattling their way in across Tasmania. Maybe a few showers creeping towards Victoria as we go through Sunday, and maybe even a shower or two into the far south of New South Wales. But essentially, it's looking fine and dry with plenty of sunshine. Temperatures do fall away a touch for Sydney as we go through Monday, but they will recover by Tuesday, getting back up into the high 20s. And by that stage, you could see a few showers coming back into the far southeast of South Australia, pushing across Victoria and, of course, into Tasmania. All the time, one or two showers making their way across into New Zealand, but a lot of dry weather to come here. Drier weather into southern China at present, but that will change. Central areas seeing some cloud and rain. That area of cloud and rain streaking its way across the Korean Peninsula, pushing into Japan, where it will turn a little wet for a time, but temperatures still up into the 30s there for Tokyo, you notice. Meanwhile, across central China, that wetter weather will continue pushing into the heart of China. And then our next typhoon bringing some very heavy rain into the far south of China, along with northern parts of Vietnam this week.
The latest news as it breaks.
The Israeli forces targeted a truck that was carrying displaced Palestinians from a Nasser area.
With detailed coverage.
The air is filled with toxic smoke from the burning plastic. It's a dangerous solution to the fuel shortage, but for many families, it's the only way to escape the bombardment.
From the heart of the story.
Doctors are refusing to abandon their patients, determined to stay with those who can't leave.
Israel has spied on millions of Palestinians using Microsoft's technology. Now the high-tech giant says it's cancelled some of its services to the Israeli army. But as the military expands its devastating war on Gaza, is this move enough? And will it make any difference on the ground? This is Inside Story. Hello, welcome to the program. I'm Neve Barker. US tech giant Microsoft says it's stopped the Israeli military from accessing its cloud computing and AI technology that was being used to spy on and bomb Palestinians. The move follows an investigation that found that Israeli forces had been using Microsoft's powerful Azure services for mass surveillance and attacks in Gaza and the occupied West Bank. But has Microsoft's decision come too late? And what can be done to stop Israel simply finding a replacement from another powerful software supplier? We'll get to our guests in a moment, but first, this report from Paul Ging.
The Israeli military's Unit 8200 was founded in 1952 and has carried out more than 7 decades of clandestine operations, intelligence gathering, and spying on Palestinians. In August, it was revealed in a media investigation that Unit 8200 was using Microsoft's Azure cloud computing and AI technology to spy on Palestinians in the occupied West Bank and to bomb Gaza. This led to demonstrations by Microsoft employees at the company's facilities around the US. Some ended up occupying the office of Brad Smith, the company's president, at Microsoft's headquarters in Redmond, Washington. Smith at the time downplayed Microsoft's work with Unit 8200.
The vast majority of what Microsoft does for the Israeli military, the Israeli Defense Force, is protect the cybersecurity of the state of Israel. There are some other activities as well that involve the use of Azure for storage, for example, for processing of data. And that is what we are focused on.
But Microsoft's now prevented Unit 8200 from using a set of cloud and AI services after an internal review, following the protests, found what it called preliminary evidence backing up the media reports of surveillance systems in the occupied West Bank and Gaza. The investigation says the collaboration between Microsoft and Unit 8200 came after a meeting 4 years ago between Microsoft's CEO and the then head of Israel's military spy agency. That meeting led to an agreement to collaborate on moving large volumes of sensitive intelligence material into Microsoft's Azure platform. After this, the Israeli unit began storing the mobile phone communications of Palestinians in the occupied West Bank and Gaza at Microsoft cloud storage data centers in the Netherlands and Ireland. It also emerged that some of the Israeli Microsoft staff had themselves once served in Unit 8200.
The whole arrangement from the beginning, from 2021, was between the head of 8200, a unit that is known for doing surveillance on Palestinian, and Microsoft and the very top officials of Microsoft.
But while Microsoft's Azure system can no longer be used by the Israeli military, Microsoft, after all, says it will continue to work closely with Israeli forces. While Israel has reportedly been exploring the possibility of using Amazon's cloud computing and AI services for its mass surveillance program instead. Amazon hasn't commented on that report. Paul King, Al Jazeera for Inside Story.
Okay, let's bring in our guests. In Washington, D.C., Rob Pegoraro, a technology journalist and analyst. In Amsterdam, the Palestinian journalist Tagreed Al-Khudri. And in New York, Kenneth Roth, former executive director of Human Rights Watch and author of Righting Wrongs, My Life in Human Rights. A very warm welcome to all three of you. A pleasure that you could make it on Inside Story. According then to that joint investigation cited in the report, in 2021, Yossi Sariel, who is in charge of this shadowy Unit 8200, one of the branches of Israel's intelligence agency, met with the heads of Microsoft and was granted access to the use of Azure to store data. Unit 8200 has been described as being a bit like the NSA for the United States or GCHQ in the UK. Rob, can you explain to us what Azure is? Why are commercial cloud servers useful to Israel? And what do we understand Microsoft had agreed to?
So Azure is a cloud service platform similar to what you can get from Google, Oracle, lots of other large tech companies offer comparable services. Why would you want to use that? Because essentially building your own data center can get expensive. And if you want to do efficient analysis of a large amount of data, it might be more effective to outsource that to people who specialize in it. So that's not a big departure. The 8200 unit, which is not only the equivalent of the NSA, but so many people in the Israeli cybersecurity industry, a lot of them previously worked in the 8200 unit, that they would then use this to do this sort of dragnet bulk surveillance of an entire society. That is somewhat remarkable.
Dragnet surveillance, Kenneth, that's what Rob describes it as. I mean, part of Unit 8200's, let's call it job description, was intercepting and storing vast amounts of sensitive information, all, of course, in the service of an occupying force. Surely some alarm bells must have been ringing somewhere in Microsoft over what this tech was being used for, or maybe those alarm bells were not ringing. What do you make of all of this?
Well, I think you're right that Microsoft showed an amazing lack of curiosity. It evidently didn't act to cut Israel's access to Azure off until in August, The Guardian and 972, an Israeli news outlet, revealed that 8200 was using Azure for mass surveillance. But this is not the first time that we've found that the Israeli military is using AI and technology to track Palestinians and frankly to kill them in Gaza. There's something called Lavender, where AI is used to figure out who is Hamas, and basically Israel has been delegating to an algorithm the decision of life or death. There's something called Where's Daddy, which traces supposed Hamas fighters and often ends up killing them in their family homes along with their families. This has been out, since early in the war. So, why Microsoft had to wait for this news revelation to act when it was clear that Israel was using technology in a very controversial way to kill Palestinians in Gaza. It should have acted much, much earlier.
Taghreed, turning to you, how has Israel's use of data and some of the technology as described there by Kenneth been used on the ground? I mean, can you give us any examples or evidence of what that looks like in the occupied West Bank and in Gaza, the weaponization of technology, essentially?
Yeah, it's complete control by the Israeli occupation forces over people in the West Bank, in East Jerusalem, and also in Gaza. The complete control extends over all Palestinians at this point. In the past, they used to focus on fighters, resistance leaders, segments of the population. But now every single Palestinian, they have information on, they gather information on. In the West Bank, the fear dominates even ordinary online activity. People worry about what they post or share online on social media. When visiting relatives in another city or village, people now are choosing not to bring their phones with them to avoid surveillance at Israeli checkpoints. Self-censorship has become the norm. Fear silences people. Many resort to coded language or move to apps like Signal, yet even these technologies are now viewed with deep distrust. In Gaza, Palestinians there, they used to fear on daily basis. Someone like me also, I used to fear at that time when I used to cover Gaza, ending as a collateral damage. Now, Palestinians in both West Bank and Gaza, they fear that being mistranslated, misunderstood by AI. You have the slang, the jargon, the nuance in the language that is different from a village to a city. And imagine, this is what they fear now. The aim, I would give the example of Khurshid family that I know. A mother, a grandmother decided to stay in Gaza City in her balcony, didn't fear at the beginning of the genocide that that Israel will harm her kids, because they were very successful business people, never been close to politics, always avoided politics. What Israel, what Israeli plan did, the strike, they killed her entire family, more than 40. She remained as a grandmother. And now, it is the intention, we cannot avoid that the intention.
You describe a situation that goes, Taghreed, a situation that goes well beyond surveillance. We're talking about profound levels of intimidation here as well, across an entire society of people. Rob, I mean, this isn't for Microsoft, the storing of cat pictures in the cloud for personal use, is it? I mean, this is a nation state that's been accused of human rights violations in the past, long before October the 7th, 2023. I mean, we've got Israeli military personnel that were being investigated at the International Criminal Court for the 2014 Gaza war. We've got settlers in the occupied West Bank that are subject to multiple UN resolutions. I mean, are you surprised Microsoft agreed to this?
Yeah, I mean, reading about the extent of the surveillance, the unfortunate historical parallel that comes to mind. 3 weeks ago, I was in Berlin. I visited the Stasi Museum, which chronicles how intensively the Eastern regime spied on its own citizens. And the notion that Israel ordered up the system and somebody at Microsoft thought it was a good idea or didn't ask enough questions to surveil 1 million calls an hour, as The Guardian's August 6th story describes it, is pretty appalling. And it's worth noting that this was an operation before the atrocities of October 7th, 2023. So the entire point of this, you would think, to keep Israeli civilians safe, doesn't seem like it even worked at that.
Well, that's the question, isn't it? I mean, why, if this surveillance technology is so vital to Israel, how did it fail to prevent the attacks by Hamas on October the 7th? I mean, we know that Yossi Sario, the head of Unit 8200, resigned in the wake of the October 7th attacks. I mean, Rob, staying with you, I mean, what does that say to you?
Well, I mean, it doesn't seem like the current Israeli government has been working too hard to see what went wrong. The Netanyahu has his own interests in keeping this war going, reducing Gaza to rubble. That, I don't get into military strategy, but I think a lot of Americans have begun wondering where exactly Israel is going with this. When does it ever end? And you're certainly seeing a split between the Republican Party and a lot of Democratic voters.
Rob, very, very quickly, I wonder if you can answer this in a couple of sentences. I mean, would this have been a good deal for Microsoft? Would it have been useful for Microsoft? Would they have gained anything from working alongside, let's say, cyber engineers from Israel? Presumably, it could have been financially lucrative. Is it possible to answer that briefly?
Probably more in the sense of technical experience. The 8200 unit people are very, very good at what they do. That's a reason why there's so many good cybersecurity companies.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform. Describe what you want.
Victims that are, of the genocide now in Gaza, they are able to, despite all these restrictions, they are able to transmit the images that have played a role to clarify to the people worldwide what's really happening, what Israel is committing on the ground. And that explains why Israel is demolishing these high-rise buildings to weaken more and more the internet. It's extremely important also to notice that, I always wonder how come, you have Erez checkpoint, the only exit for Palestinians to Israel. And then nobody among all the international journalists, international mainstream media have ever wondered what's underground that Erez checkpoint. It is a spy headquarters by Israel, in which they gather, and that's not new. It's been the case for a long, long time, even before Oslo, and nobody has ever wondered what's underground that checkpoint. Like the idea, they focus all the time that Israel, Hamas, and the tunnels, and how they manage, to build things underground. But Israel, they learned that from Israel. What's happening at Erez checkpoint, underground of that checkpoint, is a spy headquarters that's been there for ages. And now above that, they have artificial intelligence. And it's extremely, extremely very sad that these giant corporations are, playing a role and going, and being complicit with the genocide.
Understood, Degree. Let me put that to Kenneth. I mean, what's described there is a highly sophisticated means of waging war. I mean, when it comes to Israel's war on Gaza, this has been described by many as something of a kind of test case for some of the latest technology to be on show there, obviously with a huge impact on the human population in Gaza. Kenneth, after October the 7th happened, we have subsequently seen at scale in Gaza this intelligence being used to justify the killing of people after it has happened. So calls apparently made from or to buildings by person of interest, irrespective of how many civilians may be in those buildings at any moment in time. It's been described as a perversion of communications technology. Kenneth.
Well, if I could maybe just for a moment go back to a couple of things you've already mentioned. I mean, we shouldn't pretend that Israel's conduct became problematic only after the Hamas attacks of October 7, 2023. Even before then, Israel was imposing apartheid on the West Bank, East Jerusalem, as well as Gaza. Israel has been extraordinarily repressive. So, these should have been warning signs for Microsoft and other technology companies from early on. And, for Brad Smith, Microsoft CEO, to say, oh, we're providing cybersecurity. Well, fine. But, they're obviously providing offensive capabilities as well. You asked about, where was Israeli intelligence on October 7th? In fact, there were warnings, but the Netanyahu government was so focused on helping settlers violently depopulate parts of Area C in the West Bank that they took, the eye off the ball. And that's part of why Netanyahu is so determined to avoid a commission of inquiry. That's part of his incentive to keep pursuing his genocide so that he doesn't face the political consequences for his responsibility for, missing the Hamas attack. Now, within Gaza, what we've seen is that Israel has basically ripped up the Geneva Conventions. I mean, not only by indiscriminately dropping 2,000-pound bombs on Palestinian neighborhoods, not only by shooting hungry Palestinians who are coming to collect food, but also, as you suggest, using intelligence to track Hamas fighters and then applying this extraordinarily minimization of the value of Palestinian civilian lives. So according to media accounts, the Israeli lawyers are saying it's okay to kill 20 Palestinian civilians for one measly low-level Hamas fighter. Nobody thinks that that's proportionate. Everybody thinks that that's a war crime, but that's how Israel's fighting this war. And this technological analysis of, who is a Hamas fighter, where are they, that's essential to this war crime strategy.
Rob, it's important to also stress that these allegations have been made against other big tech companies, Meta and Apple. Whistleblowers from both companies revealed alleged Israeli-led censorship on a massive scale in both companies. Rob, why might this be allowed to happen?
So in the case of something like how Meta has enforced content moderation policies, first of all, no company gets content moderation right all the time, but there seems to be a pretty clear pattern, as your reporting has uncovered. I do think it is interesting that Microsoft has at least said this is a line we won't cross, because I'm looking here at a quote I took from a speech Brad Smith gave 7 years ago at Web Summit. The tools that we've created, the tools oftentimes that you've created, have been turned by others into weapons. He said that's not a good thing for us to be doing. We should have a new Geneva Convention. So I am happy that they have taken that step. This may get them into trouble with the White House, which seems to have decided that standing with Israel means standing with Netanyahu, whatever he does.
I'm putting that back to you, Kenneth. Is it possible to say that there might be a fusion between national state security and the workings of these very large tech companies, especially now during the Trump administration, Kenneth?
I mean, of course they're working together. And, if they're engaged in ordinary defensive spying, if they're working with a company that is committed to abide, or with a country that's committed to abiding by the Geneva Conventions, then fine. But, Microsoft has been on notice for basically, 2 years now, that the Netanyahu government is utterly ignoring international humanitarian law. It is pursuing a war crime strategy of killing and starving Palestinian civilians. So that should have sent a bright red warning sign that Microsoft and every technology company should avoid anything that would assist this. You don't need a new Geneva Convention for this. The existing Geneva Conventions make clear that these are basic war crimes, and every company has a duty to avoid complicity in those war crimes. So, when Brad Smith says, oh, we need new standards, no, he doesn't. The standards are there. They just have to abide by those standards.
Okay. Kenny, following that vein then, is it a stretch of the imagination to see tech firms as military contractors?
Well, they are military contractors. I mean, obviously they are. There's much of what they do which is civilian, but when the intelligence services or military forces around the world, need cloud computing, they need help with AI. These tech companies have capacities that no government has. Of course, they're subcontractors, and that imposes a duty on every company to avoid complicity in human rights violations. This is true if you're using, forced labor or child labor, illegal mining, the kinds of things we're used to thinking about when it comes to corporate social responsibility. But it also applies to tech companies. How is their technology being used? And it's not enough to say, oh, we didn't know anything until the media reports. They have a duty to conduct due diligence, to be scrutinizing their clients and not to sell technology that can be used for these kind of abusive purposes to a government that is known for using them that way.
Right. You mentioned due diligence, important phrase to use, because, Rob, Microsoft has conducted an internal review. They've concluded, in abundance of caution, to end its Azure contract with the Israeli military, years, of course, after it started, as Kenneth clearly stated there, and after, of course, the killing of 60,000 people in Gaza. So it's essentially been left to mark its own homework by the looks of it. I mean, should we be satisfied, Rob, that this is the end of it now? I mean, surely Israel can just turn to another tech giant, surely?
Oh, I'm sure of that. Like I mentioned, Oracle, they seem to be getting along quite well with the Trump administration, and they have their own cloud business, their own AI business. I would not be surprised remotely to see if somebody in business development there has placed a call to somebody in Jerusalem or Tel Aviv.
Taqreed, there's been, as we know, a huge amount of anger from within Microsoft, from within other tech giants as well. Allegations of being complicit in genocide, angry protests by employees, several high-profile firings. There have been protests where you are in the Netherlands, where at a particular data center, I understand, where 11,500 terabytes of Palestinian information is stored. Do you think these revelations regarding Microsoft will empower people to make a stand? Or are these companies such a part of our everyday lives that they are in some way immune to criticism, some way immune to the boycott movement, for instance? That's a decree.
Yeah, I would say, the step, that's taken, by Microsoft, we can say it's too little, too late, but it's still a step forward. And thanks to these activists, thanks to even like a movement like BDS, and I think those activists, with that step, they are empowered and they feel they have done something like tangible. And now they are calling for escalating pressure on all tech targets, not only Microsoft, but also Amazon, Google, and the others. So it is a step forward for the sake of now. And I think activists worldwide who are against the genocide, they are being empowered by such a step. And it seems they're going to be moving forward because they feel they have succeeded with this step.
Kenneth, let me put that to you as we reach the end of our program. Are these big companies just too big for public opinion to really matter?
No, I don't think so at all. I mean, corporations, I have found, are very sensitive to being shown to have been complicit in human rights violations. And, part of it is they could face consumer boycotts, they could face shareholder resolutions, but what they're really worried about is their employees. And, we all know that tech talent is highly coveted, it's hugely competitive. And if you're a tech genius and you're trying to figure out, should I go to a company that's complicit in genocide or one that has stayed away, guess where you're going to go? And so, I have to give Microsoft credit. They at least, belatedly have done the right thing. If other companies step in and fill the breach, that's like a huge red flag to people who care about, basic decency, not to go there, but to go to companies that purport to uphold human rights in their corporate relations with clients around the world.
Okay, well, it's been an absolutely fascinating, if not very disconcerting discussion with all three of you. One I think that all of us should be cognizant of, considering how much this technology is part of the fabric of all of our lives. Rob Pegoraro, Taqreed Al-Khodri, and Kenneth Roth, a pleasure to have you, all three of you, on Inside Story. And thank you too for watching. You can see the program again anytime by visiting our website, aljazeera.com. And for further discussion, go to our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/AJ Inside Story. And you can also join the conversation on X. Our handle is @AJ Inside Story. From me, Neve Barker, and the entire team here in Doha, bye for now.
I have the right to boycott anyone I want to, and the state has no business getting involved in that.
God's chosen to bless us because we protect Israel. I'm going to continue to do on a state level all that I can to support that.
A three-part series explores the implications of U.S. anti-boycott laws for freedom of speech and First Amendment rights.
I regret not knowing more about the issue when I voted.
I'm looking forward for my day in court.
Part 2, In Court, on Al Jazeera. From headlines to hidden agendas.
They're not only violating protesters, but they don't want people to cover it.
Power structures and editorial red lines imposed on how stories are reported.
Expose the spin.
The framing of the story is so skewed and so problematic.
It's 24/7 without any hesitation, without any shame.
One day, all these people who write these headlines are going to hold their heads in shame because they've actively deceived the world.
The Listening Post, Decoding the Media, on Al Jazeera.
Al Jazeera, wherever you are.
Revealing eco-friendly solutions to combat threats to our planet, on Al Jazeera.
Hello, I'm Cyril Vanier. It's good to have you with us. This is the News Hour, live from Doha. Coming up in the program today. The carnage captured on camera. An Israeli drone strike hits a group of displaced Palestinians. More than 90 people have been killed in the Gaza Strip on Saturday. Solidarity with Gaza. From Liverpool to Cape Town, thousands of people march as part of a global push for Israel to end its war. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov warns NATO and the EU that any aggression will be met with what he calls a decisive response. Also ahead, Washington accuses the Colombian president of inciting violence and revokes his visa. Israeli military attacks have killed 91 people on Saturday, more than half of them in Gaza City. Palestinians fleeing the violence in the north are pouring into Al-Mawasi. That's an overcrowded area that Israel had previously described as a safe zone. One of our correspondents was in the middle of an interview when an Israeli drone struck an area full of women and children. Michael Apple reports.
Displaced women and children gather on a beach in northern Gaza along the Mediterranean coast for an interview.
They told us to evacuate. I had just given my little boy a bath and I couldn't even dress him. Look at him. He's covered in blood. What do you want me to say? Where are the world's nations? Let them find a solution. Find a solution.
They grab what they can carry and run for safety. But that doesn't exist here, and everyone knows it.
Where else can we go? We are exhausted and there is nowhere else to go to. They keep bombing us wherever we go. What have we done to deserve this? We have no money to flee to the south.
Tens of thousands of Israeli soldiers are surrounding Gaza City. What they say is Hamas's last stronghold. The bombardment is relentless. And in the early hours of Saturday morning, it's Gaza's youngest that again appear to suffer the most under Israeli attacks. Thousands of Palestinians are on the move by force. This is Al Rashid Road that runs parallel with the Mediterranean, linking Gaza City in the north to Al Mawasi in the south. Those who've just arrived say conditions are squalid and overcrowded.
We always say we hope things will get better. Everything is getting worse.
After coming here, I even wished I had stayed in the north and died there. Although it's dangerous, at least there is water and food. Here, it's safer, but there is almost no food.
The situation is dire, and their desperation grows by the day. Mike Lappel, Al Jazeera.
And in central Gaza, Israeli forces attacked a crowded market in Al-Nusayrat. At least 7 people have been killed, and that includes women and children. The strike took place as many Palestinians were looking for food to feed their families. Israel has been intensifying attacks on the area in recent days. Hani Mahmoud reports from central Gaza.
That attack that was caught on camera earlier this morning repeated itself over and over throughout the days, once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, coupled with many of the explosions that were in the background as we were broadcasting from the other location on the coastal road. In the background, the horizon, all of the remaining high-rises buildings were destroyed and attacked were destroyed by the Israeli military, either by air when bombs were dropped or by the remotely controlled detonated robots planted in between these areas, the small streets, alleyways, and small neighborhoods in Gaza City. The Israeli military mapped out that there are 3 neighborhoods remain in Gaza with the majority of the population, and right now it's working on getting them out by force, by dropping lethal bombs on them, attacking them. It took us about 40 minutes to move from one location to another. And in those 40 minutes, we counted up to 3 attacks. One of them here in the Nusayrat refugee camp. We could hear the sounds of explosion clearly on the way here. It rocked the neighborhood. It rocked the car as it was moving on the road. But the attack happened in an area that is rather busy at this time of the day. It's the major market street in the Nusayrat refugee camp, better known as Nusayrat Market area here in the central part of the Gaza Strip. Initially, 6 people reported, including women and children. And when we say it's a rush hour at this time, it's because all displaced people to try to get their hands on whatever food available, whatever they want to get before it gets dark and go back to their newly designed displacement sites here in central area.
Israeli forces have ordered Palestinians in Gaza City to leave or face attacks, but even those fleeing are being targeted. At least 1 person was killed when the army targeted a family escaping to the south. Ibrahim Al-Khalili reports from the Al-Shifa hospital, where the wounded have been taken.
I'm here reporting from Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital, west of Gaza City, where the Israeli military is carrying a deadly bombardment campaign targeting different sites and locations. As you can clearly see, this father is looking for his son. You can clearly see here panic broke out among civilians after these recent Israeli attacks. You can clearly see here the reception department is filled with many injuries. The influx of injuries arriving here at Al-Shifa hospital is unprecedented.
We have been forced out of our area through Al-Rashid Street, which the Israelis claim to be a safe passage. We were taken by surprise as an Israeli artillery shell landed on my family. I am a father of 6 daughters and a son. One of my daughters was killed. 2 others and the boy were injured. We run from death to death, from killing to more killing.
As I spoke to eyewitnesses, they confirmed that these injuries who have just arrived to Al-Shifa hospital, they were carrying their belongings and whatever they could, trying to escape death in Gaza City. They were on their difficult journey to flee to the south of Gaza Strip, but they were ended up being targeted and brutally killed by the Israeli military. Ibrahim Khalili, Al Jazeera, from Al-Shifa Hospital, Gaza City, Palestine.
Saudi Arabia's Foreign Minister Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud has addressed the UN General Assembly in New York. He called on the international community to take responsibility and end Israel's war on Gaza.
The continued handling of the question of Palestine outside the frameworks of law and international legitimacy is what prolongs the violence and deepens the suffering. Saudi Arabia stresses the need for the international community to shoulder its responsibility and put an end to this tragedy and achieve sustainable peace through the two-state solution. The failure of the international community to take firm action to end the Israeli aggression and violation will only cause further instability regionally and globally. Such an action will have grave consequences and will escalate war crimes and acts of genocide.
Saudi Arabia's foreign minister also condemned Israel's attack that targeted the Qatari capital less than 3 weeks ago.
Saudi Arabia condemns in the strongest of terms the continued Israeli aggressions in the region, including the recent blatant attack on sisterly Qatar. We call for international action to stop these violations. We call for international measures to put a stop to Israel's action and to deter it from such criminal behaviors that threaten regional security and stability.
Al Jazeera's Hasham Al-Helbara is at the United Nations in New York. Hasham, it's great to talk to you. So the Saudi minister addressed many of the pressure points in the region, whether it's Libya, Yemen, Lebanon, Syria, etc. But he had a big focus on Israel's war on Gaza, obviously. What stood out to you?
The strong words from the Saudi Minister of Foreign Affairs, Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud. Cyril, those were the main highlights from his speech when he was addressing the situation in Gaza and denouncing the policies of Israel and accusing Israel of destabilizing the entire region for its attacks targeting different countries, Syria, Qatar, and many other countries, and saying that the international community has a responsibility to use its leverage to end the famine in Gaza and also push for the two-state solution to become a reality. And this is why he also called many countries at the United Nations General Assembly to join the two-state solution. And why this is crucial from a Saudi perspective, because they are the ones who lead the two-state solution initiative, and they have been trying to build momentum and also rally international support. And they know that this is going to be put to test in the future. And they also understand that with the Israeli government saying that it won't allow for a Palestinian state to be established, that's going to be a major challenge for them. And the Saudis will have a bigger say in shaping the outcome of many of the conflicts that we see unfolding in the region. And this explains why today for them it's very urgent to find an end to the war in Gaza, a ceasefire agreement to be implemented that could ultimately be conducive to talks between the Israelis and the Palestinians about the two-state solution.
Thank you very much. That's Al Jazeera's Hasham Al-Helbara reporting from UN headquarters in New York. Thank you, Hasham. Demonstrations in support of Palestinians are being held in cities around the world. Protesters have been marching in Liverpool ahead of the UK Labour Party's annual conference. They're calling for an end to the war in Gaza and greater action from the British government. Now, the United Kingdom has recognized a Palestinian state, but demonstrators say that's not enough. Al Jazeera's Rory Challens followed the protests. Here's his report.
Keir Starmer has gone further than any UK Prime Minister has been able or willing to go in recognising Palestine. But for the supporters of Palestine here, that is just the bare minimum, and a move that means nothing without concrete action to make a Palestinian state a functioning reality. And there is huge scepticism here that Keir Starmer's move was anything other than an attempt to deflect criticism of himself.
The latest charade of recognising the state of Palestine is simply a strategic move to try to rinse their blood-drenched hands.
Declaring a Palestinian state is almost meaningless. You know, nice gesture, but should have happened 30 years ago. So I don't think that's going to have much, effect or impact on the ground. Israel has learned that it can get away literally with murder.
As the Labour Party gathers in Liverpool for its annual party conference, there is significant tension within the Labour movement over Gaza. Support for Palestine gets stronger the lower down the party structures you go. But Palestine solidarity campaigners say that the party leadership is trying to stifle debate, and that 30 motions to talk about Palestine at the conference have been ruled out by the conference organising committee. Rory Challens, Al Jazeera, Liverpool.
Crowds have also rallied in Berlin, calling on their government to do more to end the war. Demonstrators said Germany may be complicit in genocide because of its continued supply of weapons to Israel. Dominic Kane reports from the protest.
They called it All Eyes on Gaza. It was a chance for those who support the Palestinian cause to gather in the center of Berlin. Tens of thousands of people came to show solidarity with those in Gaza and to denounce the policies of the Israeli government.
We're here to support the cause, try and convince the German government to stop sending bombs and supporting a genocide.
We Germans already had a history, so it shouldn't happen again. Never again is now, and that's for everyone, right?
One of the main organizers of the rally also wanted to highlight what he thinks Germany must do.
It's really time to make clear to the German government that complicity in genocide must be opposed, and the German government has an obligation to prevent and punish genocide, and we want to insist that the German government gets held to these obligations.
Okay, if there's one AI site builder you need to meet, it's this dope tech from Wix. Now, this whole flow is a conversation, so your words actually build your website. I'm going for a store, and after a free-flowing conversation, I get this detailed site brief. And just like that, my first draft is ready. Now, that's dope. Next, you can really get in there and style it your way. Here's the fun part. You can regenerate this whole thing over and over, or you can tweak something specific, like your layout. Let me describe what I had in mind. Yeah, that's fire. If there was ever a time to speak life into your dreams, it's right now using the Wix AI website builder.
But shifting public opinion has forced him to reconsider. In a sense, his cabinet is divided on party lines. The Social Democrats broadly want change, the Christian Democrats much less so. They'll decide their policy in the next few days, ahead of an informal EU summit in Copenhagen on Wednesday. If there is a change of approach towards Israel, it may not be radical enough for people at Saturday's demonstration. Dominic Kane, Al Jazeera, Berlin.
In South Africa now, demonstrators have gathered in Cape Town. Organizers there say that they want urgent action from the South African government, including shutting down Israel's embassy in Pretoria. They're also demanding accountability for individuals and businesses accused of financing or profiting from the conflict. Famida Miller is in Cape Town. She's been following that protest.
Thousands of people have come out in Cape Town to demonstrate against the ongoing genocide in Gaza. This is one of the largest marches that have taken place in South Africa, and it's one of several, but people here are more adamant than ever. They want their voices heard. They've marched to the Parliament building where they want the South African government to pay attention. Despite South Africa taking Israel to the International Court of Justice in 2023, people here want more done. They want the South African government to cut all diplomatic ties with Israel and shut the Israeli embassy. And that's despite Parliament voting also in 2023 to do just that. It hasn't yet happened. People here also want South Africa to sever economic ties with Israel. South Africa still exports coal to that country, and people here say it's what's fueling the genocide. People here say the genocide has to end, the occupation has to end, and they want their voices heard. Famida Miller, Al Jazeera, Cape Town, South Africa. The humanitarian flotilla heading for Gaza is embarking on the final leg of its journey.
Dozens of ships of the global Sumud flotilla are leaving the island of Crete. They're accompanied by Spanish and Italian naval vessels. The flotilla has come under numerous attacks during its journey. Its goal is to break Israel's siege of Gaza. Now, the flotilla is made up of more than 50 boats from at least 44 countries. It set out late last month from Spain and Italy. The journey had included stops in Catania, in Syros, and in Tunis, and is continuing across the Mediterranean toward Gaza. Activists have faced drone attacks near Malta and Crete, with explosions reported on several boats. Al Jazeera's Hassan Massoud is on board one of those ships. This is what he told us earlier.
During the past days, this flotilla had faced several attacks due to attacks through drones and also several drones that followed the flotilla since it set sail in Barcelona. And now the ships, as we can see, are being prepared to sail toward Gaza. They are holding a huge amount of aids, and also there are a lot of also participants on board in this flotilla. And from here also we can see this military ship that is a Greek military ship. It is participating in the protection of the participants here in the Greek territorial waters. And this flotilla now, after all what it faced, it also faced logistic difficulties, such as the failure of the engine of one of the main ships that was the lead ship of this flotilla, that was called the Family. But despite this failure, they redistributed the participants, and they are prepared now to set sail again toward Gaza. All the participants faced a lot of threats. They were prepared again, trained again for any coming threats, since now, after sailing from this point, there will not be any scheduled stops toward Gaza. They are expecting to reach Gaza in 4 days if everything will be smooth. And at the same time, they want to send a message to the world that something must be done toward the Gaza people.
In the occupied West Bank, Israeli forces have blown up the home of a Palestinian accused of carrying out a shooting earlier this month. This was in the town of Al-Kubeiba. Israeli forces killed 2 suspects after the shooting that left 6 people dead in occupied East Jerusalem 3 weeks ago. Israel regularly destroys the homes of Palestinians across the occupied West Bank. And Hezbollah has marked 1 year since Israel killed its leader Hassan Nasrallah. Thousands of supporters gathered in its strongholds in the southern suburbs of Lebanon's capital, Beirut. In a video message, the group's Secretary General, Naim Qassem, rejected attempts to disarm it. Nasrallah was killed when Israel was waging a war on Hezbollah, weakening it significantly. Russia's long-serving foreign minister has addressed the United Nations General Assembly. Sergei Lavrov used his speech to outline Russia's vision of the world, highlighting North-South inequality, resurgent colonialism, and the need for reform of global organizations, including the United Nations itself. Regarding Russia's war on Ukraine, Lavrov told member states that Moscow was still open to peace talks.
The Ukrainian regime is permitted to do anything, including terrorist attacks against politicians, journalists, torture, extrajudicial executions, indiscriminate bombings of civilian targets, and reckless sabotage of nuclear power plants. As President Vladimir Putin has repeatedly emphasized, Russia has been and remains open to negotiations on eliminating the root causes of the conflict. Russia's security and its vital interests must be reliably guaranteed. The rights of Russians and Russian-speaking people in the territories that remain under the control of the Kyiv regime must be restored in full. On this basis, we are ready to discuss security guarantees for Ukraine.
Multiple countries have accused Russia of violating their airspace with jets and drones in recent weeks. Lavrov denied these allegations and said that Moscow had no plans to attack NATO or the EU. We spoke to Peter Zalmayev, Executive Director of Eurasia Democracy Initiative, and he believes Lavrov is bluffing.
I think it's really just a diplomatic extension of the belligerent actions that Russia demonstrated towards NATO and EU in recent days, and the incursion into the airspace of Romania, Poland, and Estonia. This is a way for the Russian Federation to project or to put on a display of power they currently don't have. They went into Ukraine expecting Ukraine to fall within 3 to 7 business days. Ukraine is still resisting. So how can Russia really mount an attack on the NATO member states? Putin is really playing to scare the populations of these countries and the political elites, the various spoiler parties, whether ultra-right or ultra-left, into basically telling their governments to stand down, to stop supporting Ukraine, and to protect their own borders, which of course we all know that the defense of Ukraine is their own defense. So Vladimir Putin is really playing, bluffing, and Lavrov is doing the same. I'm not seeing any difference what he's doing diplomatically from what they're doing over the last few days by sending drones over Poland.
Denmark is reporting more drone sightings, disrupting the work of local airports. Flights in the country have been grounded multiple times in the past week because of drone sightings. Several military bases have reported drone activity. Earlier this month, Poland shot down drones that it said were sent by Russia into its airspace. Moscow, however, denies any wrongdoing. Now, staying with the war in Ukraine, Russia has launched a wave of drone strikes, mostly in the southeastern city of Zaporizhia. That was the moment dash cam footage captured one of the attacks. Ukraine's air defense says it intercepted 97 of 115 Russian drones overnight. No casualties have been reported. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, for his part, struck a positive tone after discussions with U.S. President Donald Trump on the sidelines of the UN meeting. Malcolm Webb reports from Kyiv.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky spoke to the press here in Kyiv after returning from the UN General Assembly in New York, where he'd met with US President Donald Trump, who made a U-turn on his rhetoric on Russia's invasion of Ukraine, expressing verbal support for Ukraine and saying that it should retake all of its territory from Russia. There's a lot of skepticism here in Ukraine about what Donald Trump says and if it will actually turn into a change in policy, but Zelensky said things are moving forward.
We had a meeting. It lasted for an hour. We didn't manage to discuss everything. We talked a lot about weapons and also about diplomacy, and there were many different questions. We share a general understanding of how security guarantees have to work, and also realizing that we need a bilateral agreement with the USA.
Zelensky also said that he discussed Ukraine's minerals and a trade deal with President Trump, and that there are more military and diplomatic meetings planned. Many people here in Ukraine are waiting to see if the change in tone will amount to support, such as weapons or tougher sanctions on Russia that might amount to a change on the ground. Malcolm Webb, Al Jazeera, Kyiv.
Still ahead on Al Jazeera, following a vote at the UN Security Council, Iran will be back under economic and trade sanctions within a few hours. We look at what it means for Tehran's nuclear ambitions. Protesters in Mexico demand answers about the fate of students who have been missing for more than a decade. Also, Real Madrid have been left stunned by their fierce rivals. We'll have the latest sports news later this
Hello, welcome to look at the international forecast. And ex-Hurricane Gabrielle threatens flooding, damaging winds into Spain and Portugal over the next couple of days. Ahead of that, it's not too bad across the Iberian Peninsula, pushing across into France. You can see high pressure into Scandinavia. But these weather systems, they are trying to push their way in from the Atlantic. This is the position of what was Gabrielle, and you can see very close to Portugal now, and it will continue to just ease its way further eastwards, some very heavy rain coming into central and northwestern parts of Portugal, gradually sliding in across central Spain and pushing a little further southwards as we go through the next couple of days. So certainly one to watch here. With high pressure over Scandinavia, that's slowing down the passage of these weather systems, which will make their way across the British Isles into the North Sea as we go through Sunday. So some wetter weather eventually coming into Norway. Much of the main continent of Europe seeing largely dry weather, but a few showers down towards the southeast and some heavier rain making its way into Greece and gradually pushing across into Turkey. And you can see what Gabrielle's up to by the time we come to Monday, flooding possibilities into eastern parts of Spain. Same weather systems make their way across the far north of Africa with heavy showers for Libya.
Years of neglect had made the power gap evident.
The Pacific has never been a priority of the Western world. That's how China has come into the Pacific,
making the region attractive to new influences.
Debt is a significant concern in the Pacific.
While the growing militarization leaves those caught in the global power struggle wondering what will be left for those who come after.
Well, there's no such thing as a free lunch. So the main concern I have is what will be left for our future generations.
Fight for the Pacific, the fallout on Al Jazeera.
Hearing the facts.
Gaza's healthcare system is in a free fall, and now tents have become the lifelines. For the wounded, this is survival.
Asking questions.
Are we witnessing a new era of media regulation in the U.S.?
Reporting from the action.
Now, Vladimir Putin says that this was a response to a terrorist attack.
With fearless journalism and in-depth coverage.
Look through here. That's the direction the water came.
Al Jazeera's teams on the ground bring you closer to the heart of the story.
You're watching Al Jazeera, a reminder of our headlines this hour. Israeli forces have killed 91 people across Gaza on Saturday. An attack on a crowded market in central Gaza has killed at least 7 people, including women and children. Protesters have gathered in Liverpool ahead of the UK Labour Party's annual conference. The march is calling for an end to the war in Gaza and greater action from the British government. The United Kingdom has recognized the Palestinian state, but demonstrators say that's not enough. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov says Moscow has no plans to attack NATO or the European Union. His comments at the UN General Assembly came after several countries accused Russia of violating their airspace in recent weeks. UN sanctions on Iran that were lifted as part of the 2015 nuclear deal are set to come back into force, essentially killing the agreement. The inability to find common ground on all sides is raising fears of confrontation. Ali Hashem reports.
Order in hall. The Iran nuclear deal is dead. That was the unspoken message at the United Nations this week as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu claimed victory.
Well, they're gone too.
Calling Iran's nuclear ambitions a global threat.
Iran is defying the global non-proliferation regime.
Now, with the snapback mechanism triggered, every sanction lifted under the 2015 nuclear deal will be back in force. From arms embargoes to banking restrictions, Iran is once again under Chapter 7 of the UN Charter, which allows the Security Council to enforce its resolutions through the use of force. The Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action was once hailed as a breakthrough, curbing Iran's nuclear activities in exchange for sanctions relief. The US withdrawal in 2018 gave it a fatal blow, but European efforts kept it on life support. Now, the deal is all but buried.
Ultimately, it's not as if the sky will fall and we will have to surrender if they go through with the snapback. The reality is that with the measures we have in place, with the relationships we maintain, we will be able to overcome the situation.
Attempts since 2018 to revive the agreement have all failed. The last one was when the US and Iran indirectly negotiated earlier this year in Oman. Then the Israeli attack on Iran changed the whole picture. It accelerated the shift, reframing the issue from a diplomatic crisis into a security confrontation. Western diplomats point to Iran's stockpile of highly enriched uranium, more than 400 kilos at 60% purity, dangerously close to weapons grade. But Iran has always maintained its program is peaceful and that it never seeks nuclear weapons.
Interest to resolve it diplomatically is still there, but at the same time, Iran wants diplomacy within their own perimeters, with their own red lines. They want to reserve and save this nuclear program for civilian purposes. They want to continue to be able to enrich. And now they've even given their lives for this program. So it's become even more difficult for them to negotiate it away or to concede it.
Some believe the death of the nuclear deal may clear the way for new negotiations, no longer tied to the liabilities of 2015. But without an agreement, others warn the grey areas may not hold, and that could mean the choice is not diplomacy, but war.
Please raise their hand.
With or without a deal, the question now is not just about sanctions, but whether the international community can find a new way forward before the situation spirals out of control. Ali Hashim, Al Jazeera.
The United States is revoking the visa of Colombia's President Gustavo Petro, accusing him of inciting violence. It follows his appearance at a rally in New York, where he called for an armed force to, in his words, liberate Palestine. He also urged U.S. soldiers to defy orders from President Donald Trump. Petro, who was in New York for the UN General Assembly, was already on his way back home when the announcement was made.
It has to be bigger than that of the United States. That's why from here, from New York, I ask all the soldiers of the Army of the US not to point their guns at humanity. Disobey the orders of Trump. Obey the orders of humanity.
When he got back to Bogota, President Petro posted a statement. It said this: "I found that I no longer have a U.S. visa. What the U.S. government is doing to me breaks the rules of immunity that underpin the United Nations and its General Assembly. The fact that the Palestinian Authority was denied entry and my visa revoked for asking U.S. and Israeli armies not to back genocide shows that the U.S. government no longer complies with international law." Speaking to our diplomatic editor, James Bays, before the fallout at the United Nations, the Colombian president said that the U.S. leader represents, quote, a dark force.
My question, Mr. President, is about President Trump's speech. There was an attack on the United Nations in his speech. What do you make of that attack? Do you think there is any merit to his attack on the United Nations?
Es un ataque contra la vida.
It's an attack against life.
En el único punto donde existe la vida en el universo,
In the
la
only
Tierra.
place in the universe where life exists.
Y es un ataque contra la humanidad,
And it's an attack against
la
humanity
civilización y lo que representa el ser humano en
and
este
civilization and what human beings represent.
Trump representa una fuerza oscura,
Trump represents a dark force.
energéticamente negativa,
It's a negative, energetic
contraria
force,
a la vida y la existencia
and
humana.
it's contrary to existence in human life.
A violent video of a woman being pushed by a U.S. immigration agent is increasing scrutiny on the work of ICE officers. The officer has been relieved of his duties as protests grow, demanding an end to ICE raids. John Hendren reports.
The Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent repeatedly says adios as an Ecuadorian woman cries out for her husband, now in ICE custody. In Spanish, she says, "You guys don't care about anything." Then, in this now viral video, she appears to touch him, and he pushes her to the ground as her son and daughter look on. The unidentified officer, who was relieved of his duties, is the latest to draw scrutiny to ICE tactics. The incident happened on Thursday as ICE agents carried off the woman's husband after he showed up for an asylum hearing at a New York courthouse. Immigration courts are an increasingly common sight for ICE arrests. The woman, Monica Moreta Galarza, was taken to a hospital for a head injury. In this video posted online, she says in Spanish, "Over in Ecuador, they beat us there too. I didn't think I'd come here to the United States and the same thing would happen to me." Later, Moretta Galarza went to the office of New York Congressman Dan Goldman.
It is just one example of too many where we have these secret police officers who are attacking our communities with excessive violence, excessive force, and they just think that they can do it with impunity.
In a statement, Tricia McLaughlin of the Department of Homeland Security said the officer's conduct in this video is unacceptable and beneath the men and women of ICE.
ICE, you are not welcome here. No.
Also in New York on Thursday, protesters called for an end to ICE raids.
We are done with this administration and their cruelty. We will demand that ICE is out of New York, and we need to fight to make sure that we are passing laws here in New York that will protect our immigrant neighbors.
The tactics of ICE agents have prompted protests across the U.S., including suburban Chicago, where agents fired a volley of pepper spray balls at protesters outside an ICE detention center in Broadview, Illinois.
With Monday.com's intuitive work management platform, you have the power. Not IT, not admins. You're in charge. So you can tailor work exactly how you love to do it. For example, you can add custom fields and choose how you like to view your work without needing help from IT. That's why over 225,000 customers love to use Monday.com, because you have the freedom to build it exactly how you picture it. The first work platform you'll love to use. Monday.com.
Antifa and other domestic terrorists, and also authorizing full force if necessary. Al Jazeera's Heidi Jo Castro reports from Washington.
Trump's announcement made on social media says that he's directing his Secretary of War to send all necessary troops to Portland, and that he's authorizing them to use what he calls full force if necessary. No details were provided, leaving us with the unanswered questions of how many soldiers are being sent, whether they'll be active duty or National Guard, and what Trump means by using full force. Back in 2020, Portland saw violent clashes between protesters and police after the killing of George Floyd, but the city has calmed down significantly since then. Most recently, a few dozen protesters targeted an ICE immigration facility where they were doused with pepper spray. Portland's mayor has said that the city is able to handle this themselves and does not need federal intervention. But Trump's description of Portland is very different. He calls it a war zone and a hotbed for Antifa. Antifa is short for anti-fascism, and experts say that it's an ideology that's motivated some left-wing militants. However, it is not an organized group, leading to concerns after Trump earlier this week designated Antifa as the first ever U.S.-based terrorism organization. There's also concern about how far Trump will push the boundaries of U.S. military actions outside of true war zones. He authorized several military strikes against suspected drug boats leaving Venezuela after designating the Tren de Aragua gang a terrorist group, and he killed 17 people in those strikes. Those strikes happened in international waters. Now, with Trump's full force threat against Portland, Oregon, on U.S. soil and potentially against American citizens, that is raising fear. Oregon state leaders say that they are pushing back with legal actions. Heidi Jo Castro, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Arab Americans from across the U.S. are gathering in the state of Michigan for a national convention. The conference, dubbed ArabCon, will bring together voices pushing for an end to the suffering in Gaza, but it also aims to defend the rights of Arab communities within the U.S. Patty Culhane has more from Dearborn.
Here in Dearborn, Michigan, on the second day of what is called ArabCon, you're hearing a true sense of optimism from the speakers in the other room to the people who are talking to the vendors in this area. They believe that the American public has shifted in its views towards the Palestinians. Polls show that is the case when it comes to Democrats and independents, but it's not necessarily showing up in Washington. Congressman Ro Khanna from California, he put together a letter saying that there should be a two-state solution. Only less than 50 members of Congress signed that letter. So I asked him about that today.
Well, I've led a letter to finally recognize a Palestinian state, and we've gotten 47 Democrats on that. Now that should be every Democrat, but at least we've made some progress. We are making progress on saying no military sales to Netanyahu that are being used to kill civilians. That's Delia Ramirez's Stop the Bombs Act. That's up to 50, 60 members of Congress. But you're right that there are politicians who are out of touch with their base, but it is changing. A new generation are bringing about a change.
During the panel discussion, Representative Kahana was asked about how to change that in Congress. His answer was simple. He said, vote out any incumbent who doesn't support the Palestinian people. Patty Culhane, Al Jazeera, Dearborn, Michigan.
Demonstrations have been held in Mexico to mark 11 years since 43 students disappeared in Guerrero State. Investigations into their disappearances revealed collusion between police and drug cartels. John Holman reports from a March for Justice in Mexico City.
If you ask anyone in Mexico who the 43 are, they'll know. It's a case that's become a symbol of the country's more than 130,000 disappeared. They were students who vanished on a rainy night in the town of Iguala. Taken by a gang, it afterwards emerged in league with police and public officials. 11 years later, still, nobody knows where they are or exactly what happened. For Christina, the hole left in her life has never been filled.
As mothers, we remember how we carried them for 9 months in our womb, then gave birth, nursed them, raised them, watched them walk, grow, talk. We hold all of that in our hearts. We cannot forget them. Each of our children is with us.
The students' parents say that successive governments have stonewalled them as they've tried to find out how far the collusion went in disappearing their sons. Current President Claudia Sheinbaum says she's different.
Truth and justice, that's our commitment. We are working on it. There is a new special prosecutor, and we are holding meetings with the mothers and fathers of the Ayotzinapa students. We'll do everything in our power to bring truth, justice, and to find them.
The parents believe that the army, which has a base in the town of Iguala, and which phone records show was aware of the events of that night, could shed more light. Some of the parents and a lot of students have gathered here outside of a military base that's in Mexico City. That's because they say that the army is withholding information about what happened to the 43, and they want there to be transparency. They want those files out. There's about 800 files, say the parents and their lawyers, which could have leads on what happened. Have you received any response from the president about releasing those files? I asked Joaquina Garcia, one of the parents.
Well, the president says they already delivered the files that were missing, but frankly, no. Not all the ones needed to get to the truth. And that is the reason we are here.
There is still no breakthrough, no end in sight. And without it, every year, people still gather on this march down Mexico City's main avenue with the same chant since the students disappeared. Alive they took them, alive we want them back. John Holman, Al Jazeera, Mexico City.
Afghanistan says it wants the return of billions of dollars in frozen assets. The funds were seized by overseas banks after the Taliban took control 4 years ago. The country's economic development has been hampered by international isolation, and that's something the Taliban government is trying to reverse. Rob McBride reports from Kabul on the changes that have taken place since 2021.
This was Kabul airport 4 years ago, just after the government had fled, leaving the Taliban unexpectedly in control and trying to hold back crowds looking for any flight out. In the years since, people have continued to leave in large numbers, but regular daily flights are bringing people both ways.
The most important difference in the last 4 years is the pause in war.
Suleiman bin Shah is a former deputy minister of industry and commerce from the previous government. He stayed in the presidential palace until an hour before these first Taliban fighters entered to take control. And he has stayed in the country ever since, now running an international business consultancy that also advises the current Afghan government, with a focus on reconnecting with the rest of the world.
I think we really need to accept Afghanistan as a whole, and we cannot, just be choosy on a few things and ignore the rest. And I think that's kind of the relationship that Afghanistan expects from the world.
There are strict limits on how much you can withdraw. These were the chaotic scenes outside one of Kabul's main banks 4 years ago as people tried to withdraw their savings. Today, stability has returned to the banking sector, but it remains largely isolated from the global financial system. The more serious economic challenges are what you can't see, like the roughly $10 billion in central bank reserves still frozen overseas since the Taliban took control, and the general shunning of Afghanistan for its rules governing the lives of girls and women, seen as overly harsh by much of the rest of the world. The withholding of international funding was made worse earlier this year with a sudden cutting off of aid from the US, leaving many organizations struggling.
We looked at reaching out again to other donors and partners who have been supporting Afghanistan, either financially or technically.
And those needs only increase as Afghan migrants are forced to move back in their millions from neighboring Iran and Pakistan, countries struggling with their own problems, returning with extra economic burdens into a country short on solutions. Rob McBride, Al Jazeera, Kabul.
Still ahead on Al Jazeera, Europe are closing in on the Ryder Cup glory going into the final day in New York. We'll have that story up next in sport with Sana Hamouche.
How shipwrecked and hopeless is America's Democratic Party? Does either Israel or the United States have a strategy for Gaza that doesn't involve the decimation of a people? What does Donald Trump's foreign policy really stand for?
A quizzical look at U.S. politics, the bottom line.
In the vast wilderness of Argentina's southern Patagonia region, an elusive predator is making a comeback. The puma was once hunted nearly to extinction, but now environmentalists are...
Mami Jonna, Mami Nella Yotinovo, mi winda letter mi signa, mi watta foto do mi lanza, mi poda telephone mi nota, mi nota guida ya de tedo. Allah wata ya benegu, abibu bobo kondunga di jabo dala. Minoda do kanja silla, banga kasare mama do bande opete woro. Mietala jibajo aisa tu bari begu mada kanyunge bobo be mombe. Fale magabana yanga nali, fode bande misalmini uri jalo. Tawede duka bulo jombi, tawede diomu no jomba, koyede deka mwede Allah. Mi olla oyo jere seunde, ande fa monki con la fota fere burda. Fale no wana fere ronko, dema no gana anda gani. Tundole ko mwede Allah nani. Joma koida wadi woko Allah.
Yo, inota kenya yo. No chalo nungi tike mi setina di kajikema.
Amado amuloko yondo, woyo de yo desi porodu eltanama. Mi venta nige DJ Bobo, e DJ Basiru te yanko jara e jalo. Mi nata DJ Damasi, Amadu para mi e ikodu menfaransi. Mi nata get the money. Get the money, but kilanda kitubi. Get the gobi ana Berlin. Muri jeyo koida wadi woko Allah. Minotodo mutore. Madam Kamara kondo woni bego fode. Siki konta bitino yurmi. Ndara deyo kofio gido yanga tami. Yeah, yo. Sherry baby, you got no name. Yeah, yo. Sherry baby, you got no name. You can me say Tinyani. Editor me out there, Burino, you do my and I know. Yeah, yo. Sherry baby, you got no name.
Where are you people going? Where are you going? I hope these ones are not going to do anything nasty. What did you leave my shop for?
Open the box. Come mail a fork. Sunna. Anakuna, what is the meaning of this madness?
Papa, you're the one that has gone mad. Every weekend you come back to this village, sharing money to these villagers, but you abandon your children, suffering with mechanic. Eh? Papa, you want to go. Are you a ritualist?
You ask me that kind of stupid question?
There's nothing stupid about his question. Answer him. What you got to do?
Hello, my name is Adam Ferrari, the Chief Executive Officer.
Every weekend, spending money, giving dozen people money. If I'm spending over millions, and when you're suffering, you don't want to help us.
The money I share is my own money. When I was your age, I had made money. I was on my own. Go and make your own money.
We were together here doing this mechanic work. Before you went to the city, I made money overnight. When you were poor, you were giving us a mama something. But now you're a billionaire, you abandon us and leave us and travel to the city and be sharing money everywhere. Papa, you must settle us before you leave this village.
For this character and conduct of yours, I will never come back to this village again. Ballot, this boss, take me out of here.
Ballot boss or ballot pepper. If you move now, I use this pattern gun on you. You fly the tire. You fly the tires.
Shut him.
Wait. Because of one other I'm to lose.
Izuna, if not the church that I go to, I can ask one so that you go out and tell the story. Just spare him. Let's go. Yes, boss.
Just because of one other time.
Move this car from here.
My elders, please, I have a simple question. How can we have a father like this? With all his money, but he refused to help us. But he can share money to strangers. Huh? Do you know that my father here cannot give me ordinary 100,000 naira? But he can share 10 million at the village square. And you want me to believe that he's not a ritualist? Mba. We have Ogwego. Oh, no, Ogwego.
Akuna, how could you accuse your father of such? Your father is not a ritualist. My husband is not a ritualist.
Mama, with due respect, in fact, you're wrong. What Akuna said is true. Mama, stop defending this man. Stop defending him. Just look at him. Just look at him. And take a good look at yourself from head to toe. Do you look like the wife of that man sitting there? He's a billionaire. Do you look like the wife of a billionaire? Tell me, how many times has he given you money to take care of us or even buy something?
I know. But one thing I'm sure is that he has plans for us. He's planning something big for us.
That's what he used to deceive you on the bed. We are not women that can be deceived with promises on the bed. What are we? Oh, no, Gwego. I'm adding more Gwego into your butter and also here that he cannot help his family. Yeah.
It's okay. At least we are here. Let us talk. It's okay. Onwa. Your children have reported you to us. And it sounds so strange to all of us here. We know you too well. You are not a stingy man. Not at all. At least, I am a beneficiary. My son is in Aba, doing very well. All because of you.
Huh?
We are happy. At least, you gave him 6 million naira to start the business. And he's doing very well. But then I don't want to. Please sit down, sit down. Sit down. Relax. Relax.
It's okay, it's all right.
So, I don't want to believe that what their children are saying is correct. In fact, I don't want to believe that you are happy seeing them like this.
Buchala. So you want to destroy my family? Ah. You want my children to hate me with their mother? What I did for you and your family in secret is what you're discussing in Umuna meeting. Is that so? You will go along again. And I'll tell you that you're not more intelligent than I am. All this kind of wisdom raging on a village. Huh? Let me tell you, from this moment, that thing I gave to your son is not a gift anymore. It is now a loan. And if he doesn't pay me in 6 months, I'll put me an RC. And you, Nega, want this your children. If they ever call me Onyogwego again, they will be missing one after the other. I call them 4 lines here. Your mother will go first. This one will follow. For supporting evil. Mama, I couldn't. Let's go.
It's okay. Please don't call him that.
Let me tell you, I know where I can buy small warrior, they will put this like
Please. We don't want him to die. It's a very nice.
If you live in a Minnesota zip code and have 0 DUIs in the last
going through. You need to divorce that one that calls himself our father. He's of no use to us. Mama, this man about you at all. Divorce him. See, if you still want to remarry another man, there are so many responsible men in this village that can take care of you, love you, and pamper you very well. You still call our father your husband. Where is he? He has abandoned you. Went to the city. He's there enjoying himself with his new wife. And you're still here talking about my husband. See, we have disowned him. So you're going to divorce him. What are you saying?
I forbid both of you for making such statements. Your father is not that bad. He has plans for us. All you need to do is to let this materialize. Listen. I want you to pick up your phone. Call your father and apologize to him the way you embarrassed him this afternoon.
Apo what? To who? Honestly, if this is what falling in love means to you people, if this is how you people fall in love blindly, I will never, ever fall in love. Jesus. But, Apo, I am done.
Mama,
I am done.
My brothers, they are right. They are right for crying out loud. Papa has failed in his responsibilities as a father. Yes. We have a billionaire as a father. He's supposed to help us. Mama, divorcing him is the best way to show him how angry you are. Divorce him. This is how you're going to stay in your own husband's house. Every little mistake, you will divorce him. Mama, you call this little mistake. I've been at home for over 1 year, and we have a billionaire as a father. What do you expect? Mama, Biko, don't add to my anger. Divorce him. I will not divorce my husband. I'm not divorcing him.
He get divorced here. He get divorced here. Overall, you're not a robber. Anako. I told you that it would work. That salt is very, very powerful. Once you mix it with something, I just like I told it to work.
No, it worked like magic.
I heard now.
See, let me tell you the truth. You know what we're going to do? We will not tell anybody about this, our secret too. Even our guy, we will not tell him. When we open our own shop, we'll be using it to cash out.
Salt? Very powerful. You can dilute juju now.
Yes.
I talk of a small car, something that can dilute juju. Once you see somebody that okay.
Ogami.
So both of you knocked my car engine with salt.
What happened to it?
My friend, keep quiet because you know what I'm talking about.
Let me go and check something.
Come here, get them. By the time I'm done with you, you will get them out of it. Get them out of the carton.
What is it? Where are you going?
Where are they? Who? The two mechanic boys that ran into your shop. Where are they?
Nobody came here. I did not see anybody here.
I can see you want to pay for their sin.
That's who we are telling them.
You better tell me the truth now. Where are they?
Okay. They're inside the fridge. They're inside. Please don't kill us. Please. Please don't kill us. Please, I'm begging you. Please.
Let me say the truth. See, it was my brother that suggested I would put salt inside your engine. He said that would be the remedy, that salt repairs engine.
Alayo, don't listen to him. He was the one that said the car has spiritual attack, that we should use salt to help it work, and the motor will work.
Come on. Stop lying now. Have you forgotten that you were the one that told me that salt neutralizes jars and the spiritual problems? That any stubborn engine that has spiritual problem, that the best remedy is to use salt. That was what you told me.
You said we should get salt that it will help the engine work very well. If you miss it inside the something, is it grease or be engine oil?
My friend, shut up. One more word from you and your head will leave your neck. Both of you will remain in police custody until your people buys me new car engine.
Jesus.
Take them away.
No, we can do something to help you. You can bring the car back.
My friend, move.
Don't compromise quality insurance for savings or your time for this ad. Hit that skip button, or don't, and watch me skip.
You in there? Yes.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Concentrate fire on the target.
This woman, I told you I was going out. Why are you still washing the car by now? Why are you like this?
I'm sorry, honey. I was
What did you just call me? Ogini, don't you ever in your life call me. If you want to call me a name, call me Onwa. Honey, don't.
It's okay. I'm sorry. Please, can I have my money now?
How much is your money?
It's 26,000.
How come?
Yes, I washed 2 cars yesterday and 2 this morning.
Give me 26,000 for washing car for 2 days. For how many cars? That should be 3,600. That my wife does not make you increase the budget or pad it. It won't work. Oh. To 6,000.
Thank you.
For the next car wash for me. But
I'm not done. You are in a hurry to leave.
Open the gate. Open the gate. Take.
I don't like African time. You're supposed to be here over an hour ago.
Well, but I'm here now. Let's get straight to the business. Where's the money?
I need to see the consignment first.
From the smile on your face, it is a done deal. Where is the money?
Tell your boss I'm impressed. Here's the money.
Yeah. I hope it's complete.
Your boss knows me. He knows what I can do. I don't fuck up.
Yeah, Officer Kelly.
I've been expecting your call. Your boss said you call me.
Yes, she just left right now. I have sent you everything you need to know about her car, including the plate number.
All right.
My boss is expecting you to do a clean job.
I will not fail your boss. You will hear from me soon.
Conda. My friend Conda.
What did I do?
We have been monitoring your calls and movements. Conda. What do you have in that briefcase?
There's nothing there. I don't have it. Officer, hold on. I don't have anything there. It's just some files. I don't have anything there. Officer, there is nothing there. There's nothing in that.
Drugs! You're under arrest.
Officer, calm down. Calm down. We can just settle it here, please.
No.
Let's just settle everything
My friend,
here.
I advise you don't make noise. Let's go.
Officer, let me
My friend, move.
I can just get... Officer.
And then go inside.
Please, officer, please, I'm begging you. I can pay any amount. Just call it, I'll pay. I can just pay for you to end this case here. Please don't push it further. Please.
Mother, it is your time that has kept this community the way it is. You commit a crime, you sort it out with money. But this one is bigger than you. You will go to jail.
Please. Please, okay. Okay, can I have access to my phone? I want to call someone.
I will not allow you to do that. You will go nowhere. You will remain here until I finish my investigations.
Investigation again? Sir, please. Please, sir. Please, I'm begging you. Please.
There's nothing I can do. You must go to jail.
Officer, officer, please now.
Good job. I've always known you're a very smart guy. I'm proud of you.
Thank you very much, sir.
What about that young lady, Gold?
She's in our custody, begging for negotiation because she doesn't want to go to court.
No, she won't go to court. You know, I'm trying to make it not look easy for her so she doesn't suspect any foul play. She's been calling me to intervene, and I've always told her I'm on it.
That's a smart move, sir. I will release her anytime you want me to.
Oh, sure. All right. For a job well done.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Please do call me anytime something like this comes up.
Oh, sure. Sure.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes? What are you doing here?
Good afternoon. Please, I was at our workshop. They said you arrested my nephews. Please, I beg of you, since you arrested them, their mother has been in panic.
Then buy me a new car engine.
Did you know that the most dangerous prayer you can ever pray is only 3 words? If you skip this healing prayer, God will skip you too. The universe says that whoever is watching this video will be healed of any health problem or pain because they will come into contact with divine healing. And to manifest these blessings, 2 things are necessary. The first thing is not to doubt the universe, and the second is to believe that if you are watching this video, the Lord has seen something in your life that you have not yet seen. So pay close attention to what I am about to tell you. This biblical healing secret has been kept away from all of us for centuries, so that rulers could maintain control over the population for a long time. Theologians searched for these early versions of the Bible, and what they recently found is already bankrupting pharmaceutical companies in Israel. Doctors are calling it the ultimate pain reliever, believing it could end the pharmaceutical.
But when I'm done with them, they will regret ever learning mechanical.
Please, sir. Please, sir. At least just release them so that we can run around and get the money for the car engine, please.
No one is setting their eyes on them until I see my new car engine. And I want you to extend this to the mother. And as for you, this will be the last time you step your foot inside my compound. Now get out. Get out from here!
Is it ringing? He's not picking. Eh? What kind of husband is this? I can't even reach him when I wish. His phone will be ringing and he will not pick. I know he will not call me back. Eh? What do I do now? What are we going to do? Let me call him back.
Sister. Yes, your husband is in the city. And it's not far from the village. To me, I think you should go to the city and look for your husband, so that we will raise funds and bail Akuna and Izuna before they die in that police net.
Forbid, my brothers will not die. They will not die. But Mama, I think Uncle Kechuku is right. Let me just rush to the city and beg Papa for money. I know he will give me. No, Chisom. You don't have to. Let me go myself. When he sees me, he will know the importance of this issue. Eh? Let me go and dress up and go. Nah. Kechuku. But I thought Emeka is your friend. Help us and beg him. He should be patient. At least we'll just run around and get the money. Please.
You will not understand. See, Emeka, Okechukwu. Yes, we are friends. Do you understand me? But Emeka loves money more than any other thing. He doesn't even value friendship when it comes to money. Do you know how many times I've been to his house begging him on behalf of your brothers? Instead, he has to chase me out of the house. So the only option here is for us to raise funds and bail them from the police nets.
Beg him again now. Try again. Try again. Mama, are you not done? Hi, God. Uncle, try now. Beg him again.
Onwa, thank you so much for securing my release. I will never forget this in a hurry. Everybody ran away, but you still stood by me and ensured that I came out. Thank you so much.
Nothing really to worry about or thank me. We are business partners. Whatever affects you invariably affects me. If I name one, just one phone call.
You said that you spent so much money trying to release me. So how much is it that you spent so that we'll know how to pay you back?
Nothing for you to worry about. But it's just about 40 million naira.
40 million?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I will transfer 15 million naira to you. Yes. Use that 1 million naira and then buy a drink for yourself, because if the case was taken to court, I would have spent more than that.
Very generous of you. Thank you very much. I look forward to more business in the future.
All right. Let me make the transfer. I have your account details. Done.
Done. Okay. Received. It's nice doing business with you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'll take my leave now.
Only you refuse to take a drink, but that's okay. Thank you very much.
We're Phoenix Energy, a family-owned oil company focused on unleashing American oil from North Dakota and Montana. We've already sold over 2.9 million barrels, creating steady jobs for hardworking folks chasing the American dream. You can share in our success by investing with Phoenix Energy and get 9 to 13% annual interest through our Regulation D 506